Today I'm so excited because I get to show you guys the OnePlus Nord 20 5G. This phone is one of many that is supposed to be purchased on a budget. With this guy, I can say I am absolutely impressed. This is the day one review. Let's go ahead and dig in. For starters, the coolest thing about this phone that I can tell you right off the bat is how amazing it looks. A lot of those phones that you do buy on a budget typically have plastic parts on the outside, which isn't necessarily ever bad as they do withstand heavy impacts and are much more resilient than glass is. I personally do not like the feel or the idea of plastic being on a phone, and this one doesn't have any plastic on the outside of it actually. Besides it not using plastic, it is absolutely beautiful how this thing is designed. First of all, the blue back looks absolutely incredible, and the gold rings around two of the cameras on the 3-camera system stands out against this blue, really emphasizes that 3-camera system. With budget phones, the first thing to go out the window is the camera system. The first hour that I spent with this phone, I originally thought that that was going to be the case for this guy as well. But after using it and kind of figuring out its quirks, I can tell you right now, it's really not a bad camera system. And in fact, it does a decent job, which is very impressive for a phone that is only $300. The one downside that I do see though is that even though it is a 3-camera system, it really does feel like only 1 or 2 of those cameras are really necessary for taking those photos. I really wish budget phones didn't feel like they need to play catch up with flagship phones. More cameras doesn't necessarily always mean better, especially if they're not orchestrated to work together. That means that they need to work with both the software and the hardware to ensure that all 3 cameras or more are operating together and working seamlessly to get a very fluid photo taking experience. Despite it being only 7.5 millimeters, it is a very sturdy phone. I cannot emphasize how amazing those gold rings around this blue body look. It is absolutely stunning. It really draws your eyes to the 2 big lenses on the back of the phone, which kind of says, hey, I can take pretty good pictures despite only being $300. That's pretty amazing. Now, I will tell you one downside is that this does not offer wireless charging. On the bottom, there is only 2 I/O ports. There is the auxiliary jack, which is good to see. There is also a USB-C port in the middle. This USB-C port does support 33-watt charging, which is very unheard of. Most budget phones that I've seen in the past can only charge up to 10 watts, but sometimes you do need that extra boost, so it's nice to know that you do have that option, and it does come with that 33-watt charger in the box, which is absolutely phenomenal. On the left side, we do have the volume rocker. On the right side, we do have the sleep-wake button. Down towards the bottom, there is a little bit of a chin cut out from the display. This is a trend that I've noticed with a lot of OnePlus's phones. Personally, I think they should just cut that out and they should just bring the display all the way down and it would look absolutely amazing, streamlined. But that's just my opinion. This screen does not actually look that bad. It is an AMOLED HD display. The screen can only go up to 60 Hertz. However, I am personally not bothered by slower refresh rates. For example, most of the content that we view on either Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, most of the time, not always, but most of the content that we view day to day is typically only at 30 frames per second. It does have an under display optical fingerprint reader. Now, this is some pretty cool technology that I have been a huge fan of for a long time, so I'm glad to see that it is offered on a budgetable phone. If you're not into the under display fingerprint reading, they do also offer face unlock with the camera in the top left corner. The phone does run Oxygen OS with a little bit of OnePlus's UI kind of sprinkled in there. Nothing too aggressive like we've seen before with Samsung. However, rumor does have it that OnePlus is going to be moving more towards their own customized UI. In fact, it's going to be probably very similar to Samsung OS. Now, under the hood, this phone does have a 965 Qualcomm 5G processor. It has 6 gigabytes of RAM. It does have a 4,500 milliamp hour battery. From the time that I have spent with this, I do feel like that battery is going to last more than a day, maybe even a day and a half. It comes with 128 gigabytes of internal storage, but is expandable up to an additional 512 gigabytes. It's nice to see that if you are short on storage, you can expand it if needed. Overall, this is a very good device. With budget phones, a lot of things do typically get cut. You don't really see that much in this device, but there is one thing that stands out that kind of worries me, and I'm not really sure how I feel about yet. There is absolutely no waterproofing or dust protection on this device. What I mean by that is when you take out the SIM card ejector, there is no gasket or anything around it, meaning that there was no effort to prevent any dust or water, whether it's splashing or submersion or whatever, from getting into the device. When I was looking down towards the auxiliary port, I noticed that I could see almost what I think is a part of the board that the auxiliary port is attached to. So what that tells me is that there was no engineering or effort put into giving it any sort of protection to the outside world. So we're gonna have to see, after spending more time with it, if this is actually an issue that could damage this device premature 2 years. Because I really do think that is the biggest bang for your buck, is when you buy a smartphone and it can last you at least 2 years before the battery depletes under 80% or it is no longer usable from wear and tear. So we're gonna have to see if this guy can withstand to survive longer than that. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. That's gonna do it for this day one review. Go ahead and like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys around.